All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome. We are very excited to have you with us for today's webinar. We've got some incredible guests joining us from Wyoming Catholic College, located in the beautiful mountain town of Lander, Wyoming. If you haven't heard of WCC before, you're in for something special. Wyoming is deeply committed to providing a Catholic liberal arts education, offering a curriculum focused on the great books and fostering a vibrant outdoor leadership program. Their unique approach integrates faith, reason, and the beauty of God's creation. Wyoming truly offers an education for the whole person, mind, body, spirit, in a setting that encourages adventure and a reflection. As we always begin our events at Kolbe, let's start with a prayer. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. All glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our friends from Wyoming Catholic. Lucas.
Howdy, everybody. My name is Dr. Lucas Preble. I'm the Dean of Student Services at Wyoming Catholic College, and I oversee the recruitment efforts for the school as well as admissions and financial aid. Catherine.
Hi, everyone. I'm Catherine Mershon. I graduated from Wyoming Catholic in 2019. I am the Director of Admissions now at Wyoming Catholic. I'm also a Kolbe Academy graduate my whole K through 12 education before Wyoming Catholic. So I'm excited to talk to all of you about this awesome place.
Awesome. Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is John Walsh. I'm an admissions counselor at Wyoming Catholic College, but I'm also a recent graduate. I actually just graduated in May. So yeah, I love my experience at Wyoming Catholic and really excited to share it with all of you today.
Awesome. Great. We're happy to have all of you guys here today. And now let's dive into what we're all here about today. Discovering Wyoming Catholic College, embarking on the adventure of a lifetime. Now, we brought our friends here from Wyoming to share what makes their college unique, so that you can learn about their rigorous academics, their outdoor leadership program, their strong Catholic identity, and their vibrant student life. So let's stay tuned. As a reminder, all of our attendees today are in listen-only mode, and we encourage you to utilize the Q&A or the chat areas of the webinar to ask questions as they come up. And we're going to try to answer those during and at the end of the session today as time permits. All right, guys, take it away.
Fantastic. Let me just share my presentation here.
Great. So yeah, thanks for coming, everybody, to learn about Wyoming Catholic College. First of all, where we are. So we are located in Lander, Wyoming. That's about at the O in Wyoming there on the map. Pretty central at the foot of the Wind River Mountains in the town of Lander, Wyoming. Lander is a little town of about 8,000 people and has great access to the outdoors, right near Sinks Canyon State Park, and where there's lots of hiking and rock climbing and all sorts of things. And our campus is spread out throughout the town. So we have our main buildings within a few blocks downtown, and so we get to interact with the local people on a regular basis and be integrated into the town, which is a really great thing. Lander's known for its 4th of July festivities. I just love sharing that because if you can ever go to Wyoming at the 4th of July, it is an awesome small town American experience. Fireworks all day, rodeo, big parade, super fun. So it's a great place to be. So that is where we are located, Wyoming Catholic College. So Wyoming Catholic College, our mission is to form students through a rigorous immersion in the primary sources of the classical liberal arts tradition, the grandeur of the mountain wilderness, and the spiritual heritage of the Catholic Church. Grounded in real experience and thoughtful reflection, our graduates love truth, think clearly, communicate eloquently, engaging with the world as it is. So we are a 4-year liberal arts integrated program. The main part of our education happens in the classroom, encountering the great books, the the best minds who have thought the best things and written the best things throughout all of Western civilization. That is incorporated with a outdoor leadership program. By the time we graduate, we've spent at least 10 weeks in the wilderness, doing all sorts of different things that we'll describe more a little bit later. And we also have a fast from technology at our school. So there is limited internet access in different places on campus. There's no internet at the dorms. And our students turn in their cell phones. So they have no cell phones on campus throughout their 4 years. When they leave campus and on breaks and things, they check them out. All of that is connected to and informed by a very rich liturgical life. It is focused on the student and making a really vibrant community of friends that are studying and pursuing truth together, so that education can really happen. So through our curriculum, we have 8 different curricular tracks and 127 credits. So that includes 8 semesters of humanities, 8 semesters of theology, 6 of philosophy, 6 of math and science, 4 of trivium, 3 of the fine arts, 4 of Latin, and the outdoor leadership program. So this is a general education, a liberal education in the true sense, which means we're educating you to be a free person, addressing the whole of life, preparing you firstly to be a human. So the world is very obsessed with asking, what are you going to do? What function are you going to fulfill in society? Which of course matters, and we need to figure that out. But often the more important thing is overlooked, which is the question, who are you going to be? What kind of a person are you going to be? Are you going to be a good doctor? Are you going to be a good teacher? So we don't really care what you're going to be unless you are a good one. We want you to be a good one. So our goal is through this great intellectual tradition to teach you the things that it means to be human. We don't try to reinvent the wheel, but instead we take the best of what has been thought and said, and we think about it so that we can learn from it. So we have one of the most characteristic things about the curriculum is sort of the poetic mode. So our humanities track is very rigorous, and we read a lot of books, and we memorize 30 poems by the time we graduate. And the goal is that we are really also through the outdoors getting real experiences, filling up our imaginations with all of the different experiences that humans can have, and then going sort of into the philosophic mode and theorizing about those things, drawing conclusions, drawing principles. We do that through the seminar method. All of our classes are seminar method. This is a picture of that. So we sit around the table and we don't just listen to what somebody else says about these great authors, about Plato or Aristotle or Homer or Melville, but we actually read them ourselves and then talk to our friends and our professors about them. So we're trying to get to know them really. And to do that, we have to engage with them directly. So that's somewhat familiar for you, having being Kolbe students, that you're doing this, engaging in the great books. Some of our classes look a little bit different in the seminar method, depending on the class. So we study Euclid's geometry. And so we're not just sort of sitting around the table talking about it, but actually presenting propositions up at the board. So it's still interactive and engaging. The 4 years culminates in a senior thesis and oration. So in the fall semester, seniors write a thesis, and in the spring semester, give a 30-minute presentation and then have 30 minutes of questions and answers based on their thesis. So this is a really great opportunity to sort of put into practice all of the things that you've learned throughout the 4 years. So you do your own studying and research, follow the things that you're really interested in, and then have to write and speak in a clear way that you can communicate those things to people. So through all of this education, all of these different tracks, it is really one education. Sometimes I remember my senior year forgetting sometimes if I was in philosophy class or humanities class or theology class because there's so much overlap, because really what we're studying is one thing. We're studying truth, and that's united. So our ways of knowing, our modes of knowing are distinct and different, and so we do those in different classes. But it's really one thing. So it's not a whole bunch of disparate facts and ideas about things. So it's really one integrated education. So that is informed by the outdoor program, which I'll let John talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Catherine. And I think what Catherine was getting at in terms of our curriculum, but ultimately in terms of everything we do at Wyoming Catholic College, our primary focus is not just forming our students as functionaries or as people who can fit neatly into the workplace market. Really, we want to go deeper with our education and actually form students first and foremost as human persons before forming them as workers. We want to form our students as human beings who can live fully alive in every aspect of their human nature. And what makes us really unique at Wyoming Catholic College is, we realize that if we're actually serious about this goal of forming the whole human person, our education has to transcend the classroom. We can't just talk about what is true, good, and beautiful, or read about it. It's awesome to do that, and we do that in our academic program. But we also have to pursue real experiences of the beautiful, pursue real experiences of what is good. And so we propose as a complement to our academic classroom experience, more of a experiential, immersive educational opportunity, what we call, the poetic mode of learning, which first and foremost is embodied in our outdoor program. Why do we go outside? Why is Wyoming Catholic College so obsessed with the wilderness? Well, we realize that the human person is not just a brain. We're not just intellects. We truly are beings with an intellect, but also with emotions, with senses, with a body, with spirit. And so our education has to tap into each and every one of those aspects of our beings. And that's why at Wyoming Catholic College, what we talk about it as, we're not just concerned with studying and reading and analyzing God's second book, the Holy Bible, the revealed word, but first and foremost, his first book, the incredible creation that he gave to us to inhabit. And we know that experiencing in a raw way, in a direct way, the beauty of God's created world will ultimately, as the quote on the board there says, bring us to a corresponding perception of the creator behind that natural world. And so going out into the wilderness is a huge part of what we do at Wyoming Catholic College. That all starts with our totally unique freshman orientation program, which is a 21-day backpacking trip in the Rocky Mountains. All freshmen are required to do that pretty much as soon as they come to campus. Why? It sounds crazy. I know I get a lot of strange looks when I mention that this is the first thing we do. But really, it's because right off the bat, we want to overwhelm ourselves with beauty. I don't know if any of you all have ever been to the Rocky Mountains, but as soon as you get here, you're just surrounded by things that are so much bigger than you. By the mountains, you're out there camping under one of the best night skies you'll see in America. You're out there in in the alpine weather, in with the alpine wildlife. And right off the bat, your place in the cosmos, your place in creation is put back in perspective. And so for those first 21 days as freshmen, really the goal is to transform how you see yourself, how you see those around you, and also ultimately how you see your relationship with your creator. We're really trying to tap into what so many figures in the Old Testament and the New Testament, John the Baptist, even Christ himself, they realized that part of their mission of serving God's people, it starts in the wilderness. It starts in a retreat into the spiritual repose that can be found when we extract ourselves from the man-made world. So those first 21 days are transformative, and you immediately form tight bonds with your classmen, but also the upperclassmen that are instructing you on that course. And that ultimately progresses into the second semester of freshman year, which is a totally unique winter trip experience. Right off the bat, after Christmas break, all of our freshmen go out to Grand Teton National Park and spend a week just having a blast in the winter environment. And the primary activity is actually building and ultimately sleeping in quinzees out there in Grand Teton National Park. And quinzees are essentially an igloo type structure that our students actually go out and build and ultimately sleep in for 2 nights in the winter environment. And that's an incredible experience of not just surviving, but ultimately thriving and having a lot of fun in a challenging winter environment. And ultimately, one of the favorite activities of that winter trip week is we have a priest come out and say mass. And a lot of the different winter trip groups have competitions building the fanciest altars for Father to say mass on. But anyway, that whole week is just a blast in the winter environment. And again, we're putting ourselves out into an environment where many of us are uncomfortable in, but ultimately that discomfort, that perseverance through adversity is what forms us. And that's a major component of the outdoor program. Let's get ourselves away from the air conditioning, away from the heating, away from the artificial lighting, and out there into the real world. That's uncomfortable at times, for sure, but ultimately persevering through that discomfort and overcoming it is a sign of you growing as a person in an incredibly unique and meaningful way. After freshman year, the journey continues every semester with all students required to go every semester for at least 1 week back into the wilderness. And these week-long trips after freshman year, there's a whole range of activities you can go on. You can go rock climbing, you can go rappelling, mountain biking, whitewater rafting, mountaineering, all sorts of different activities that are awesome and fun and adventurous in themselves, but also, again, tapping into that mission of going out into a retreat in the wilderness and once again experiencing beauty firsthand, experiencing God's creation firsthand. And I mentioned it earlier, the whole idea behind this education is, we talk about what is true, good, and beautiful in the classroom. We read books about those things. But ultimately, we want to not just talk about them or analyze them, but live them out in the real world, pursue concrete experiences of them. Another thing we do at Wyoming Catholic College that sets us apart is pursuing similar goals as the outdoor program. All of our students are also required to take a semester of horsemanship. And students in that class, they're both learning the basics of how to ride a horse and how to take care of a horse, but they're also learning the history and philosophy behind being a good horseman. So they're reading texts from all the way from ancient Greece up to modern Western novels about the tradition of the American cowboy. And again, that idea is, the way I like to talk about it is you can discuss, you can read about the ideal of stewardship in our theology class, which we do. We read Genesis and we try to understand where man should have been in the garden. But that idea of leading nature, but not dominating it, what it means to be a good steward of nature, it becomes so much more real when your classroom is an arena and you're actually having to lead and cooperate with, yeah, this animal that's so much more powerful than you. And that's the whole idea behind these more immersive, experiential educational opportunities we have here. We want to read about and discuss the good life, what it means to be a fully alive human person, but we also want to live it out as a community. And we know that doing all these crazy and adventurous and fun activities in the Rocky Mountain West is ultimately a crucial part of that. So anyway, I think Catherine and Lucas, you're going to talk more about the liturgical, the faith life side of things, but that's again in the same avenue of trying to live out the good life and not just study it in the academic program.
Yeah. So again, all of this it's one life. It's one integrated real life. That's what John's getting at. That's one of the first things that struck me when I visited Wyoming Catholic was all these things are just really actually united. So our education in the classroom and our studying, our reading, our conversations in class, our conversations in the dorms, on the outdoor trips, all of those things are steeped in a rich Catholic tradition and liturgical life, informed by it. We are the inheritors of Western civilization. That means both on the intellectual side and also on the liturgical side of Catholicism. So we have a unique situation at Wyoming Catholic because we have two chaplains, one of whom is a Roman Catholic priest and one who is a Byzantine Catholic priest. So we have two full liturgical schedules, both of East and West, which is very informative and beautiful for students to be able to participate in. We have we have Mass every day, Divine Liturgy every day, different hours of the Divine Office that are prayed and sung daily, adoration and confession multiple times throughout the week, and lots of other liturgical events. So processions, and all of the dorms are blessed every year, and the river that runs through Lander, the Poposia, we have a big ceremony and go out and bless the waters there. And we don't have any classes scheduled around at the same time as Mass, so it's possible for students to go to daily Mass, and many of them do, and many faculty do as well. A great way that our students participate in the liturgical life is through choir. We have both Byzantine and Roman Catholic choir, and we sing Gregorian chant and polyphony. It's another way that we're really actually incorporated into Western civilization, is because we're actually reading and singing the music also that has been sung and written throughout the history of Western civilization. The spiritual life at Wyoming Catholic College is not opposed to the life of study. These things are really united. So our study is supposed to lead to prayer, and often we pray so that we can study well and do well on tests, things like that. But the goal really is that as an integrated curriculum, we're trying to study the truth, and we know through divine revelation that Christ is the way and the truth and the life. And so really we're studying Christ, and that's who we're studying through all of these different modes, in the outdoors, in philosophy, in math, in art, and all of those different things. We're studying truth, we're studying Christ. So the goal is that our love of God that grows in prayer grows in tandem with the knowledge of God that we gain in study. So it's never a sort of opposition, but the best humans make the best Catholics. And we yeah, that's our goal, to be good Catholics, which means also to be good humans like Christ was a good human. Yeah, so Lucas, if you want to take it away with
Good question. Before I jump to that, we had a question from one of the attendees about the Byzantine and Roman choirs. Are they two different masses because they're different in how they're sung, or can you talk a
sure,
little bit
yeah,
about the differentiation between the two?
yeah. So if you haven't ever been to a Byzantine Divine Liturgy, go. It's really beautiful. It's really, yeah, really neat. The Divine Liturgy is, yes, different, looks very different than a Mass does. Has all of the same main parts. You would recognize all the same main parts. There's an epistle, there's a gospel, there's a homily, all of those things. But what they look like is different, and the music is very different. So we have two different choirs that learn the music for those different liturgical rites. Yeah, is that answering it?
Great. Thank you, Catherine. So Catherine mentioned at the start of her presentation that, we're in the business of educating students through the liberal arts, and that one of the aims or goals is to generate or create good people, right? You want you to be the best at what you do, not necessarily to be everything, but whatever you take up and whatever you do in life, that you are set up to do that well. And so the liberal arts degree at WCC really does prepare students to take on whatever comes their way. Our young alumni base, we're a very young school, but it already includes priests and religious sisters, faculty and teachers. We've got lawyers and doctors, physical therapists, and many of our alumni go on to continue right after graduation in graduate school, and then continue on to other professions or building families and businesses. One of our success stories, or I guess two of our success stories, we've had the affinity that our outdoor program has with our students in the curriculum, is that it inspired some of our alumni to actually help start the outreach program that we call Core Expeditions. So it is an outreach of Wyoming Catholic College. It's the body at the college that organizes and runs all of our outdoor trips, and the 21-day trip, the winter trip, and all the trips throughout the year. But it's also available and open to other schools and families and seminaries and high schools. And they put on trips every month, and they're doing that right now, actually. This group, Outdoor Expeditions, is put on by a few of our alumni, and a lot of our students work there. One of the questions that was asked earlier by one of the attendees was, have any of our students gotten seriously injured on any of these trips, and are they typically safe? And the short answer is yes, we've had serious injuries on our trips, but the long answer is that we have a really very robust training regimen that goes into educating our students and our leaders on how to respond to emergencies in the wilderness. And they actually get a certification that is almost equivalent to an EMT certification that we call a wilderness first responder. So there is a course that you can take in the summers to prepare yourself to be one of these leaders and be what we call a woofer, or the wilderness first responder, that takes on the job of being your medic on your trips. But we've had injuries. In fact, last year, John Walsh, he was on a trip, and there was a major injury on a mountain there, and John had to be the guy in charge of making sure that the kid came off the mountain alive, and he made it. We made it back alive. So we can talk a little bit about that later. Another one of our success stories is one of our alumni, kind of similar fashion to the Core Expeditions and the Core Outreach Program. One of our alumni from the class of 2012 started an organization leading pilgrimages and adventure pilgrimages in Italy. So taking families and schools and students and things like that all over Italy on a pilgrimage, but not just any pilgrimage, an adventure-based pilgrimage. And he's definitely taking advantage of those skills learned on the outdoor program here, which are pretty awesome. After graduation, students go on to become teachers, right? But the main thing that we're doing here is that old maxim from Albert Einstein has said this, right? That education is that which is left over after all the learning is done. So once our students are done with their program here, they walk away with that experience, that education that they hold dear to their hearts for the rest of their lives. They really learn how to become true members of the three pillars of the world, right? The three societies: the church, family, and country, and those reign true with all of our graduates. All right, I wanted to chat a little bit about what it's like to apply to WCC. Just like every other college, especially Newman Guide colleges, we have an admissions process that follows kind of the same rubric at most other schools. We require an application. We require 2 references from one at least has to come from an academic source, so a tutor or a teacher of some kind. We also require a response to an essay, and there are 4 prompts to that essay that you can find on our webpage. And each one of these 4 prompts, you pick one to write your essay on, but essentially they're covering the bases of the liberal arts, the trivium and the quadrivium. So there's one that's focused more on logic, one that's more focused on math and science, one's more focused on theology. So you get a little bit of a sense of what you would like to present about your writing style. We're looking for answers, not just about, can you answer the question, but we're really trying to analyze how do you answer the question. Can you think critically about the concept that we present? Obviously, we're looking to see if you're eloquent, if you can present yourself well and write well, which Kolbe graduates, we know that's going to happen. And then the other piece of the application is the personal statement. So this personal statement is a response to the question, why do you think you would thrive at Wyoming Catholic, or why do you want to come to Wyoming Catholic? The other components of the application require a transcript. So Kolbe Academy will give you guys that transcript, and those are great. But if you've supplemented your education, especially as a homeschool student, and some other way, oftentimes you'll have a supplemental piece to that transcript. And if you have questions about that, feel free to reach out about what does the transcript look like for a homeschool student. Then we do have the requirement of a standardized test. So we have leaning preference to the CLT, but we'll also evaluate the SAT and the ACT. But these tests, they're helpful to a degree in evaluating admission at the college. More often, what we're looking at is, have you taken the test and where do you fall? And that really helps us assess, did we make the right decisions in admission? Not so much, are we making the right decision with you specifically based on your score? So we actually don't publicize what the range is of our student body on the test scores. So we don't have a minimum or a maximum that we require for any of those test scores. And then the very last thing that we require in the application process is a brief interview with one of our faculty. And we can do this interview over Zoom, over a phone call, in person if you happen to visit the college. But essentially, during that interview, we're looking for an opportunity to really get to know you, to see if you would be a good fit for the college, if you would succeed here, and if you would enjoy your time here. And so that interview it's kind of twofold. One, we're evaluating you, but then the second one was we're giving you a chance to ask us more questions about, is this the right place for you to spend the next 4 years? I'm going to jump to the next slide, which is going to talk a little bit more about tuition, scholarships, and financial aid. And I'll just get into the nitty gritty here. The overall total cost of attendance that you can expect is $40,000. And that barely covers the operating costs for the college for bringing in students. The tuition is $26,500. Our room and our meal plan amounts to $11,000. And then our books and fees are $2,500. And I'll walk backwards from those. So the books and fees, that $2,500 covers all of the books that you're going to need for your 4 years. If you look behind Catherine right there on her bookshelf, those are books that she purchased or through the college, through that fee, and she gets to keep those for forever, right? And so that's just a small sampling of those books, and you leave here with a ton of books. Then the other thing that the fees cover are all of the outdoor trips. So the 21-day trip, the winter trip, and then the other 8 weeks in the semester in the year that you spend in the outdoors. Each one of those trips, they can range from mountaineering to whitewater rafting to mountain biking, and they each cost a little bit, but we've absorbed that cost in that fee that you're going to pay. And then lastly, the room and board, that's $5,500 for your housing, and then $5,500 for the meal plan. And all of our students are required to live on campus and eat in the dining hall with the cafeteria. And so that cost is kind of absorbed and required. We have a big number there, right? 40,000 it's not a small number. But as you can see, about 96% of our students receive some sort of aid from the college, which will include both merit scholarships and financial aid or need-based aid. And so our merit-based scholarships are something that we evaluate on the application when you're applying. How we evaluate your merit based on your application includes your transcripts, your test scores, your essay, your interview. A whole bunch of different components go into evaluating merit and what award you receive. There's also a founders competition. So we offer an opportunity for students to come out, admitted students to come out in the spring semester and compete for a full tuition scholarship. So that $26,500 is an award that you can earn if you were to come to campus and compete for that scholarship. The competition includes a written component, so an essay. There's also basically an oral component that happens in the seminar. So we're evaluating how you do on that. And then it's just a great visit to come out. You get to visit campus and usually go rock climbing or caving or horseback riding, depending on the activity that we offer for that week. And the last scholarship I wanted to mention was the Christine Allen Memorial Scholarship. And this is typically for returning students, but this is an opportunity to earn a little bit more cash through different methods. There's an essay component for that scholarship as well, but it's open for returning students. So on top of the $26,000, you could earn that additional scholarship. I believe it's between $2,000 and $4,000, if I'm not mistaken. Lastly, if you are a Native American or you carry a tribal card, we offer we have a grant that offers a full ride to students, not just tuition, but tuition, room and board, and fees, and that covers the entire amount, which is kind of an awesome benefit for students of Native American heritage. I saw a couple of questions come up. So someone asked about whether you're allowed to bring the books yourselves if you already own them. And typically, we do not permit that. You can talk with our registrar specifically about that, and there may be small, slim chances for giving credit to books that you bring on your own. But generally speaking, the answer is no, and there's kind of two reasons for that. One, we want every student to have the books when they get here for the first day of classes, and then to have the right or the same books so that everyone's on literally the same page, which is really helpful. Someone else asked about living on campus. Yes, all of our students have to live on campus for all 4 years. Our campus, however, as Catherine was mentioning earlier, is all over Lander. So we have a urban campus with our classroom buildings, our administrative buildings, our cafeteria, all downtown. And then the dormitories or the student residences are up the hill from campus, about a mile walk from downtown, and where all of our students reside. And they are in different combinations of either 2, 3, or 4 to a room, depending on the configuration of their residence. We have a single-sex policy, so all of our dorms are one sex, right? So there's the men's hall and then there's a women's hall, and there's no intervisitation in any of our halls or residences. And we do have a couple of communal spaces at some of the residences that are designed to accommodate for having events together, but one of the more beautiful things about our community culture is that we have set up a brother-sister dorm relationship. So each one of the halls has a sponsored a host saint, right? So there's St. Gianna Hall and St. Gerard Mahela, and both of these are brother sister dorms, and they oftentimes will do events with each other to kind of help build camaraderie between the men and women of that hall, and it's a very beautiful component. With that, I think I covered all of the things I needed to cover. Oh, sorry, one more slide for me. And that's just kind of a timeline for things coming up. So you can start your application today. If you complete it by November 15th, it's kind of almost guaranteed that you'll hear your decision before Christmas, and you'll have priority for registering for founders. That founders competition does fill up fast, so we encourage people to come to that early, but it is only open to admitted students. So you have to be gone through the application process and been admitted for that. The founders competition is in February, so the mid weekend of February, the 14th and 15th, and then the last weekend of February, the 28th through March 1st. And you don't have to come to both; you just pick one, whichever one works for you. And one kind of thing to keep in mind is that the weather is not always cooperative with us. So if you're buying flights for that, make sure you get the insurance on the flights in case you get snowed out or whatever it is. But we tend to roll with the punches whenever we get inclement weather. And then the last thing I want to mention was Peak, our summer program. So we have a fantastic program in the summers that's open to all rising juniors and seniors. And that is a 2-week micro semester that we offer during the summer here on campus in June. And it is open already. You can start registering for that now if you're a high school junior or senior. If you apply for that and pay your tuition for that by March 1st, you get an early bird discount of $300 off. And lastly, I haven't mentioned this yet, but one of the coolest things that I'm excited about is that every official visitor to the college campus admissions process, so if you come for founders, or if you came for Peak, or if you came for a visit program, or just visiting the college with the admissions office, you are automatically eligible for a $1,000 credit if you were to commit. So we realize that it's kind of hard to get to Lander, Wyoming, and kind of expensive sometimes. And so we give you $1,000 in credit that you can earn back for visiting. Someone mentioned what is the cost of Peak, and that's $1,195, so almost $1,200 for the summer program. And like I mentioned, if you come for that and then enroll, you essentially get $1,000 back. So it pretty much covers itself, which is pretty awesome. We do ask that if you come for Peak, that you end up depositing or making your enrollment decision in the fall, early in the fall, so that we can lock that credit in. If you make your deposit or commitment later, that credit kind of goes away, and we ask that you come back and visit us one more time just to make sure that you're set on coming here. But with that, I think I will stop sharing my screen and open it up for any other questions. And let's see.
Yeah, you want to just put the contact screen up?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, great call. Thank you,
Yeah.
Catherine.
And then I just wanted to, there are a couple other questions I was going to add my 2 cents to also. Would you say that your program is particularly well suited to the student that doesn't yet have a clear career path? Maybe doesn't yet know what he wants to do with his life. Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
100%. That is, in fact, sometimes it's helpful when you don't know what your career path is, because you realize that you can actually just be a sponge and soak up what it means to be a human and not just. So if you already know your career path, cool, and you want to come to Wyoming Catholic College first, absolutely awesome, fantastic. One of my favorite lines in the philosophical vision statement of Wyoming Catholic College is that this kind of education spares students many years of wandering. And that is just really true, because it puts you on the path, on a clear path with this education. So we'll take all of them, but absolutely, you fall in love with things here that you didn't know existed, and that really helps determine what you're actually going to do on the career side of things. I also wanted to just make a note about the outdoor program. So yes, we've had injuries. I just really want to stress our outdoor program, Core Expeditions, is accredited. There is an accrediting agency, an outdoor accrediting agency it's a really high standard. There are a handful of organizations in the US that are accredited by it, and we are the only Catholic one. There are some other Christian ones. We're the only Catholic one. There are really high standards for safety And the only reason that we can do what we do is because we take that seriously. So all of our students have at least a wilderness first aid class. A third of our students become woofers, like Lucas was mentioning. That's close to the equivalent of a EMT. And our outdoor program is student-led. It's student-led because we actually train our students to be able to handle these situations. So the real world experience you get making decisions in the wilderness is huge. So you're actually a lot more likely to get hurt on a highway in a car than you are when you go rock climbing. It's just really a matter of knowing how to use the tools, use the gear properly, and that really, really mitigates risk. So it doesn't totally take it away, but our risk management is really serious. So I just want to make sure no one has any sort of like, oh my goodness, I'm going to go get hurt. It happens, but it's been very manageable, and there's not been anything that's actually, yeah, crazy in life.
Part of the excitement. It's part of the excitement of Wyoming, you know?
Yeah.
I have one very important question. Do you have to be super outdoorsy to go to Wyoming Catholic? Do I need to work on my push-ups now? You know, super like running miles every day, etc. What's it?
No. No, you really don't. What's great is that our entire curriculum really appeals to lots of different people for lots of different reasons. So we get people who have never slept outside in their whole lives. We get people who are like Eagle Scouts, you know. We get people who love reading, and we get people who are like, oh my goodness, philosophy, what is that? And that's really awesome because everything that we have pushes everybody, no matter where they're coming from. So I was not super outdoorsy before I went to Wyoming Catholic. I liked going on hikes sometimes. That was about the extent of it. So don't let it deter you. It's quite a wonderful adventure.
Yeah,
I'd like
I
to
think that's what. Good.
Yeah, I just want to second that. One of the things that the director of our outdoor program says is that we're not interested in making sure that people survive on the outdoor component, right? We're actually interested in people thriving. So it's not just about coming here and I made it through. I was able to, purify my water and I didn't get sick. That's not the goal. The goal is that you come here and that you learn all these cool things and that you actually thrive and you grow as a person, that you grow in relation with other people, that you develop relationships with other people. And so oftentimes we kind of gauge the skill level of the students as they're coming in, and we break up the 21-day trip and the trips based on to some degree skill and ability, but more so interpersonal relation. How are they going to interact with each other? And it's really designed for everybody. We kind of hype up the adventurous side because it's a very exciting thing to be able to say we've got this whitewater rafting and mountain biking and all these awesome components. But they're actually the fundamental part of the outdoor component is that it's accessible to everybody. We often talk about the outdoor piece, but we don't necessarily talk too much about the horsemanship piece, right? And the horsemanship is essentially another class that we offer, right? That our students have to learn how to ride a horse and get on a horse, and for a lot of people, that this is the first time they've ever walked into an arena or touched a horse. And so that's kind of in some ways a more challenging for experience for students, right? You have to eventually learn how to walk up and saddle a horse and do this all on your own, right? Whereas with all the other trips, there's someone belaying you when you're rock climbing. There's someone helping you with rappelling. You've got your compadres helping you carry your packs. But with the horsemanship component, it's you and a giant animal, and you guys have to work it out in the arena, and that can be kind of exciting for students as well. But we have a lot of very skilled instructors, a lot of very talented, patient people helping our students get acclimated to this environment.
Yeah, no, what I really appreciate about Wyoming is just, and what makes it, I guess, really, really unique. It's just your ability to connect with nature and the wilderness and the beautiful. I mean, so much unlike, any other of like the Newman colleges that I can think of. And it's truly immersive. it's an integrated experience, with the liberal arts and the liturgical, liturgical life, etc. And like, I really think if anybody has any inkling into that, just really wanting to tap it and kind of embrace that, I mean, it's a no-brainer for me. Another question, just from the Kolbe perspective, I mean, for the Kolbe families too, I mean, how does it fit? And maybe in Catherine, for you too, on this lens, because coming from here too, like, how do you see, Kolbe kind of, forming you in the initial, in the initial years, but then kind of continuing on into the classical Catholic education? How does that transition, work from your experience?
Sure, yeah. So one of the things that our professors like to say is that freshman year is wasted on freshmen. That's because we give the freshmen great books and expect them to, well, we're trying to teach them the tools, but they don't have the tools yet. There's no helping that. It's awesome. It's, it's kind of a joke also, but it's all, there's some truth in it. My experience doing Kolbe and having read a bunch of the great books, that mitigated that a little bit. So I already had dipped my toes into the great books world and had already at least read some things, had it in my mind and my imagination. So that was useful in going back to things. So it's sort of twofold, because I think it's useful having some kind of great books experience first. And that sets you up really well to be like, oh yeah, I'm kind of familiar with these things. It's not totally different. And on the other hand, also, when I read the Iliad when I was 15 years old, and then when I read it when I was 18, it was a little bit of a different experience. So it didn't feel like rereading to me. It didn't feel like, oh, I know that story, I don't need to read that. My experience on a college level was, needless to say, much deeper and more thorough, and a very new experience. So it's helpful. Also, it doesn't do the job. And yeah, it's great. It's a great thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and if I could just add to that, I didn't go to Kolbe, unfortunately, but I did have a classical high school experience, and yeah, I had already read a lot of the books, these selections from them that I ended up reading at Wyoming Catholic. And so I was going into this education was really like, okay, I've already read these things. What is this Wyoming Catholic College place all about for 4 more years of this? And it's actually something an attitude I've kind of faced as an admissions counselor. Some high school students coming from classical schools. The question is, why do this again? Why do more of this? And what I've realized, both in my own experience at Wyoming Catholic, but also just talking with people, if you graduate from high school with that attitude of, I've done the liberal arts thing, I've done the classical thing, it's over for me. I don't think, to put it bluntly, I don't think you've really been classically educated, because, being classically educated, reading the great books, immersing yourself in the liberal arts, that's ultimately coming into contact with things that are worth studying for the rest of your life. It's not as though, one reading of the Iliad exhausts the Iliad. No, we have professors here who teach that class, and they've been teaching it for 15 years now. They've read the Iliad 15, 20 times, and every time they read it, they learn something new. They come at it with a different perspective, with different people. And yeah, the great books, they are great because they bear studying again and again. And you can never exhaust them, if that makes sense. So anyway, I think, yeah, as Catherine was saying, like the classical high school experience is a great preparation for the classical college experience, but it's definitely not a substitute for it. And there's so much more to learn in college, and you should take your classical education in high school as kind of, a further opportunity to go into a classical college and experience it that's much more deeply. So yeah, there's definitely so much more here for Kolbe graduates and for graduates of other classical programs.
Mm-hmm. That's what I love about, just classical education in general, and in different stages. I mean, we're being formed in different methods, and they kind of all, stack on one another. And with our gained experiences through, whether it's in elementary, moving in through, high school, and even into college, like it's really forming us in a way that we can logically come up with, I stand on something, an argument, understanding, being able to think for ourselves, right? And then teaching, students to be able to communicate that, whether it's verbally or in writing, and, taking that idea and sharing it with the masses, and also just encouraging people to be on your side, that the idea of argument and standing up for what you believe in too. I think it's so helpful, and especially on the higher education level too. Like that's when we're about to be moved into the workforce, and if people, I think a lot of times ask the question like, why liberal arts, and I'm like, what are they going to do? I mean, if I'm a CEO or a CFO, I think that's exactly the education I want, be able to handle any kind of situation that comes in, into the company. Like I have that background and that experience, and that the ability to have that clarity into these different, circumstances that we encounter all the time, so I'm a full supporter of the liberal arts education. Any other questions? Okay. I think that's about it. I really hope, all those that are joining us today, I really hope that you've, really found this time insightful and helpful in your decision, whether, as you're discerning your college, the future, whether it's college, trade school, or whatever direction that you do go in. I really hope that this time was helpful in seeing a little bit more at how, great and unique Wyoming Catholic College is. Especially if you're looking to continue on this, your Catholic classical education. If you have any further, questions, don't hesitate to reach out to the team here. Catherine, John, Lucas, we're going to be sharing this. We'll be, you'll have access to this presentation afterwards. If you want to revisit this at all, that'll be accessible to you. And again, just thank you all for joining us today. We wish you the very best in your educational journey, and we hope to see some of you join the Wyoming Catholic College community family. Anyways, thanks guys for being here today. I really appreciate you being here, and God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.